There is a moment that arrives without warning and without spectacle. It does not announce itself with tragedy or drama. It simply appears when you are quiet enough to notice it. You look around your room, you look at your phone, you think about the people you call family, friends, or allies, and you realize something unsettling. No one is coming. No one is organizing a rescue. No one is going to step in and carry your vision forward. This realization feels cruel at first because it destroys a comforting illusion, but it is not a curse. It is a threshold. For most people, this moment becomes the beginning of bitterness. For a few, it becomes the beginning of power. The realization that you are the sole architect of your fate is the most liberating truth you will ever encounter. It strips away the veneer of societal safety nets and exposes the raw machinery of existence. To master your life, you must first master the art of manipulating the systems that surround you. Success is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of engineering. If you do not take control of the variables will control you. Come with me. Let us examine this below. 1. The rescue illusion and the architecture of dependence. Human beings are not born helpless in the way we later become dependent. We are trained into dependence gradually, systematically, and invisibly. From early childhood, we are surrounded by corrective forces. When we fall, someone lifts us. When we fail, someone explains. When we hesitate, someone reassures. This builds an internal expectation that incomplete effort will be compensated later. The mind learns that responsibility is shared by default. This belief is not taught explicitly. It is absorbed through repetition. School reinforces it. Group projects teach you that individual weakness can be diluted by collective effort. Religious structures teach you that authority mediates responsibility. Society teaches you that advancement is facilitated by networks rather than competence. Over time, this creates a psychological infrastructure where waiting feels reasonable and delay feels justified. You are not lazy, you are conditioned. The rescue illusion survives into adulthood, where it becomes lethal to progress. Adults wait for approval before acting, wait for support before committing, wait for consensus before deciding. This waiting is praised as prudence, but functions as paralysis. The world does not reward readiness, it rewards movement. The rescue illusion keeps people visible but ineffective. They talk more than they build. They explain more than they execute. They remain emotionally busy while materially stagnant. When you believe rescue is possible, you subconsciously optimize for being seen instead of being effective. This is why so many capable people remain stuck. They are not incapable. They are waiting. The psychological cost of this waiting is the erosion of the action bias. In a state of dependence, the individual views the environment as a provider rather than a landscape to be navigated. This creates a passive feedback loop where the individual only exerts enough energy to remain within the safety net. Once the illusion collapses, the waiting ends. The world does not suddenly become hostile, it becomes neutral. Neutrality is terrifying because it offers no narrative, but neutrality is also fair. It means outcomes are proportional to action. This is where real responsibility begins. To break this illusion, one must perform a system audit. You must identify every area of your life where you are waiting for an external signal. Is it a promotion? Is it a sign from the universe? Is it a mentor's blessing? Recognize these for what they are, anchors. By cutting these ties, you move from a state of being acted upon to a state of acting. This is the first step in manipulating your work environment, recognizing that the environment has no inherent interest in your success. You must force the environment to yield. 2. Responsibility as power, not pressure. Most people associate full responsibility with emotional weight. They feel crushed by the idea that everything rests on them, but responsibility is not a burden, it is leverage. When responsibility is total, control is total, and control is the only antidote to chaos. When no one is coming to save you, you stop negotiating with circumstances. You stop blaming systems. You stop performing explanations. Responsibility forces you to think structurally rather than emotionally. This is where dark psychology enters as awareness, not manipulation of people, but manipulation of outcomes. Dark psychology in its healthy form is the study of how systems fail and how dependency weakens decision-making. It teaches you to observe incentives, patterns, and feedback loops rather than personalities. Self-reliance is not about isolation. It is about designing systems that function regardless of emotional fluctuation. You stop relying on motivation because motivation is unstable. You build routines that operate even when energy is low. You reduce decision fatigue by simplifying choices. You automate what can be automated. You remove unnecessary communication. You measure output, not opinion. This transforms your relationship with work. You are no longer asking how you feel. You are asking what functions. This makes you difficult to destabilize because disruption requires access, and access is reduced by design. To manipulate your work effectively, you must treat your career as a black box. Inputs go in, results come out. The internal mechanics should remain your own. By creating a system where your output is high, but your process is opaque, you create a position of strength. Others cannot replicate your success if they do not understand your systems. This is the manipulation of the workflow architecture. You are not tricking anyone. You are simply out-engineering them. You must learn to hoard your focus like a precious resource. In an era of constant connectivity, undistracted time is the ultimate competitive advantage. By manipulating your schedule to include deep work blocks that are impenetrable, you produce results that appear miraculous to the dependent mind. They see the rescue. You see the rigor. The transition from pressure to power occurs when you realize that you no longer need the world to be kind for you to be successful. You only need the world to be consistent. Once you understand the laws of your industry, you can manipulate them to your benefit. 3. Opposition, interference, and the discipline of observation. When you move independently, you will encounter resistance. This resistance is not always malicious. Sometimes it is accidental, sometimes it is emotional, but sometimes it is strategic. The mistake most people make is personalizing resistance. They argue, they defend, they explain. These reactions create access. Access allows influence. Dark psychology awareness teaches you to observe without reacting. You study behavior patterns over time, rather than isolated statements. People who benefit from your stagnation rarely attack directly. Direct attacks create accountability. More often they test, they delay feedback, they introduce ambiguity, they frame caution as wisdom, they ask questions designed to drain momentum, they offer help that comes with conditions, they present themselves as allies while subtly redirecting your energy. These are the soft saboteurs. They do not want you to fail spectacularly. They want you to fail slowly so that you remain at their level. You are not taught to manipulate them. You are taught to recognize interference. The rule is simple. Support that weakens autonomy is not support. Interference that accumulates quietly is more dangerous than open conflict. The correct response is not accusation. It is adjustment. Reduce exposure, reduce dependency, reduce information flow. Distance is not hostility, it is hygiene. In the professional world, information is the primary currency of interference. When you share your plans, you give others the opportunity to inject doubt. By manipulating the flow of information, practicing what we call strategic silence, you protect the embryonic stages of your projects. You only reveal the result when it is already a fait accompli. This prevents the opposition from mobilizing. You must also learn to categorize those around you based on their impact on your velocity. If a person or a process consistently slows you down, it is a bug in your system. You do not ask the bug to change. You rewrite the code to bypass the bug. This is the essence of navigating opposition. You do not seek to change people, as that is a waste of your most valuable resource, time. Instead, you change the structure of your interaction with them. If they are a source of noise, you build a filter. If they are a source of friction, you find a lubricant or a different path. The enemies of your progress do not deserve your emotional energy. They deserve only your cold, analytical observation and the subsequent adjustment of your trajectory. It is essential to understand that the individuals who stand in your way are often driven by a deep-seated fear of their own irrelevance. When they see you operating without the need for a rescue, it highlights their own dependency. They will try to pull you back into the collective safety of mediocrity. They will use phrases like, "We should be realistic," or "That's not how things are done here." These are not pieces of advice. They are verbal anchors. They are trying to manipulate your perception of reality to match their own limitations. Do not fall for the trap of trying to justify them or find the good in their intentions. Their intentions are irrelevant if their impact is destructive. In a high-stakes environment, Impact is the only metric that matters. If a colleague consistently forgets to include you in vital communications or accidentally misses a deadline that affects your work, they are not being clumsy. They are testing your boundaries. They are seeing how much interference you will tolerate. If you forgive them, you signal that your work is not a priority. This is why you must maintain a discipline of memory. Note the patterns. See the repetition. Do not offer second chances to those whose primary contribution is chaos. The world is full of people who would rather see a project fail than see someone else succeed in it. By acknowledging this reality, you immunize yourself against the shock of betrayal. You expect interference, so you are never surprised by it. This allows you to remain calm and analytical while others are reacting emotionally. Your calm is your greatest weapon. It signals that you are in control of the situation, which in turn manipulates the power dynamic in your favor. 4. Timing, decisive action, and the ethics of the strike. Avoiding conflict is not weakness, but avoiding necessary action is. There are moments when distance is not enough, when interference escalates into obstruction. At this stage, inaction becomes permission. Timing matters. You do not strike impulsively. You do not escalate emotionally. You wait until patterns are undeniable. Then action must be clean and limited. This is not about revenge. It is about removing influence. You may need to end partnerships, change environments, remove dependencies. You act once and decisively. You do not explain. Explanations reveal architecture. Anyone who studies your defenses is not neutral. After action, you return to silence. You do not linger. You do not narrate. You continue forward. The strike is not loud. It is surgical. It leaves no data behind. This preserves ambiguity. Ambiguity protects autonomy. The strike in a professional context often looks like the sudden removal of access. You stop responding to the saboteur's requests. You reroute your project's dependencies so they are no longer involved. You present a finished product to the stakeholders before the saboteur can introduce their planned delays. By the time they realize they have been sidelined, the game is already over. The beauty of the tactical strike is that it requires no drama. It is the cold application of logic to a problem. If a process is broken, you replace it. If a person is an obstacle, you bypass them. The ethics of this action lie in your commitment to the work itself. You are not acting for the sake of ego. You are acting for the sake of the mission. The people you strike against will often play the victim. They will use social manipulation to make you look like the aggressor. This is why the silence after the strike is so important. If you do not engage in the narrative, their complaints have nothing to stick to. They are shouting into a vacuum. Your results will speak for you. In the long run, no one cares about the friction of the process. They only care about the quality of the output. By manipulating the timing of your actions, you ensure that you are always 3 steps ahead of the opposition. You move while they are still debating the first step. You finish while they are still planning. This speed is a form of manipulation in itself. It forces the environment to react to you rather than you reacting to the environment. 5. Long-term sovereignty and the discipline of memory. When you fully accept that no one is coming to save you, something stabilizes inside you. You stop oscillating emotionally. You stop interpreting silence as rejection. You work differently. You build quietly. You invest in competence rather than approval. This eventually attracts attention, but you are no longer dependent on it. When results appear, former obstacles often rebrand themselves as allies. They will claim they were pushing you to be better, or that they always believed in you. This is the final test. You do not rewrite history. You do not seek validation from those who previously hindered you. You maintain respectful distance. You remember who you were when the room was empty. This memory protects you from future dependency. You are not antisocial. You are self-governing. You understand that collaboration is a choice, not a necessity. The goal is not isolation. The goal is sovereignty. To maintain sovereignty, you must continuously manipulate your own internal environment. You must purge the rescue mindset whenever it reappears. Success brings its own set of illusions, the illusion that you have made it and can now afford to relax your guard. This is when most empires fall. Long-term sovereignty requires a perpetual state of vigilance. You must continue to audit your dependencies. Are you becoming reliant on a specific platform, a specific client, a specific technology? If so, you are no longer sovereign. You must manipulate your business model or your workflow to ensure that you have multiple paths to victory. Redundancy is a form of power. The sovereign individual is never trapped because they have already envisioned the exit strategy for every room they enter. This disciplined memory of your struggle ensures that you never become the very thing you fought against. You do not become a gatekeeper or a saboteur for the next generation. Instead, you become a monument to what is possible when an individual stops waiting for a savior and becomes their own. Your work becomes your legacy, and your legacy is built on the cold, hard facts of your achievements, not the shifting sands of social approval. Conclusion: no one coming to save you is not a threat. It is an initiation. It strips illusion. It forces clarity. It builds systems that function without permission. You are not taught to manipulate people. You are taught to recognize interference and neutralize it through structure, timing, and discipline. You move carefully around those who test you, and when action is required, you act precisely and without hesitation. Then, silence resumes. The world is a complex machine, and most people are merely cogs within it, waiting for the machine to move them. By stepping outside of the rescue illusion, you become the operator of the machine. You manipulate the levers of your work, the gears of your productivity, and the shields of your defense. The enemies you encounter along the way are not protagonists in a story of redemption. They are simply variables to be managed, and if necessary, discarded. Do not look back with regret or forward with fear. Look at the present with the cold eyes of a strategist. Your life is the most important project you will ever manage. Treat it with the ruthless dedication it deserves. Build your fortress, protect your time, and strike with precision when the path is blocked. The empty room you once feared is now your throne room. From there, you command your own destiny. If you also want to develop through dark psychology, this channel is exactly for you.